Greetings everyone, David J. Coon with Qigong Awareness. We are here today to celebrate Valentine's Day, and we have, where's our signage? Everyone come up, everyone come up and just wave to everyone on the camera at home.
Sailor's back there, videographer.
Okay, say hello. This program today, Qigong for a Healthy Heart, is being sponsored by the Love, Peace, Amen Foundation. Some of us have gathered together today to practice here, to practice with you, wherever you guys find yourself. Thank you very much for coming over. There'll be some others sneaking in behind us here momentarily. I'm David J. Coon. I'm the author of Qigong for Beginners, Your Path to Greater Health and Vitality. It's a great book in my opinion. So, you know, but I'm biased. So, but why is it a great book? Because it's about Qigong, yes, but more than that, it's about my journey with Qigong. And today, again, we're going to talk about Qigong for a healthy heart. So we're going to get into it a little bit. Obviously, I'm a Caucasian male, grew up in the United States. And, but my mom always used to say, my son, he thinks he's Asian. Because I grew up like the Karate Kid. She definitely played a role in that. And growing up like the Karate Kid, so to speak, if you've ever seen that movie, I won't go into the details of it, but if you haven't seen it, maybe check it out. It's an old school movie with Ralph Macchio, and a young boy who gets bullied and so on, and then ends up meeting this karate master. And it was pretty interesting because we just watched it recently. My daughter had never seen it, you know, and we just watched it recently. And Mr. Miyagi is like the master in that movie. And so Daniel, who's getting bullied and so on, one of the main character or whatever, he's getting bullied and stuff at school. And so anyway, he ends up meeting this master who was like a janitor or something. And then the janitor, the master, starts teaching him how to do karate. And somewhere in the movie, Daniel gets hurt, he gets injured. Some of these bullies, I think it was when they beat him up or whatever. And out comes Mr. Miyagi and he rubs his hands together while Daniel's lying there on the floor. And he starts, what we call in my business, Qi-ing him, right? And, you know, I watched that movie many years ago. I forgot that was even in the movie. And I started laughing when I saw it because that's like what I do now. And if someone ever said to me, this is what you're going to do when you grow up, you know, that would have been cool, but they didn't. No one told me you could grow up and do these things or learn these things. And a lot of times people will ask me, you know, did you go study in China? Did you go here? Did you go there? I've only been out of the country once. Went to Greece and went to Germany with one of my masters who was Korean. But I've actually, just like Daniel in the movie Karate Kid, I met some of my Asian masters here in the United States, and some Caucasian masters, some male masters, some female masters, anyway, that I trained with in the United States. And anyway, I train like the Karate Kid, so if you haven't seen the movie, go check it out. It's kind of fun, I think. But what does that mean? It basically means that, like, in Asia and the Asian cultures at large, these days many people are more interested in Asia in Burger King than they are interested in training many of these ancient arts. So these ancient arts are already in some ways going away. In one way, they're growing, and they've grown quite a bit in the United States, in other areas around the world. But even in the countries that gave birth to these disciplines, the disciplines are disappearing. So on one level, there's always somebody going to be holding it up and practicing it. That's why it's stuck around. It's resilient. So I'm not saying it's going to disappear. But I also want you to understand that modern culture, Western culture, is kind of taking over all around the world. And some people want to be on their iPhone, and some people would rather eat Burger King than understand any of the ancient disciplines. So it just kind of is what it is. But for me, when I was growing up, I got into an accident, ended up with a severe spinal disease. They told me I'd be crippled by the time I was 30 years old. And so little by little, I started getting exposed to alternative medicine, chiropractic, acupuncture, massage. Through martial arts, I was introduced to Qigong. For years, I was studying martial arts, and I was learning traditional Chinese medicine from some of my other teachers and so on. I had not yet even heard the word Qigong, didn't know what it was, didn't even know what Qi was, this idea of Qi. I had no idea, just never heard the word. And one day, I had been training martial arts, and unbeknownst to me, Qigong, because we were training a little bit harder form of Qigong at the martial arts school, because Qi, one of the things that Qi, this energy, which that's kind of what it means, it's like considered like a universal life force that's all around us, but in the same way that water is, you know, unless we live in a desert, it's all around us, okay? But gathering it is something else. You know, if water is dispersed and it's just all over the place, then the water is there, but the water doesn't have power, right? It doesn't have the power to move a mountain. It doesn't have the power to move rock. It doesn't have the power to bore through rock or something, right? Or wash away dirt or debris. So Qi in that regard is very much like water. You can contain it, harness it, and have a reservoir of that energy. And now if you have a reservoir of water and you get that water to run, you get that water to flow, it's very, very powerful. Now in Asia, and these disciplines that I'm referring to, namely Qigong and martial art, and we also have Chinese medicine and what's called medical Qigong. We'll get into that more a little bit later. When you talk about these disciplines, again, Qi is very much like the water, and you have the ability to harness this water, or it's depleted and it goes away from you, okay? So even though Qi is everywhere, it is, but when it's harnessed, it becomes something else. So if you ever see like a Karate Kid or the karate movie like that, something like that, or a karate master, you hear this, and they're punching, but they're not just doing that in the air. They might be breaking a brick. They might be breaking a board. There's a tremendous amount of power that can be generated in those types of practices. So now that's a little extreme, like the martial art where they're breaking a board, they're breaking a brick, but then just take that element away and take the fighting away, and you just have the that's like a little bit of a harder, quote unquote, harder form of Qigong. This is not about just making your muscles strong. This is about making your insides strong, and it's not just about flexing your musculature. It's actually about working with and using your breath. One of the primary teachings that comes out of the ancient Qigong practices is that Qi, this universal life force that I said is like water, it's all around us, but in this case we can say it's like air. It has been said that it rides on the air. So I want you to just pause and think about this for a moment. Qi, maybe, this universal energy, maybe it rides on air. Okay? And then I want you to think about how many people out there in the world, including yourself on a daily basis, how often we are holding our breath. Now, many people have no idea to what degree they are holding their breath. They literally do not have a clue. Zero. Almost nothing. Because you would have to have either a really bad health condition, so bad, so to speak, that the doctor says to you, you really have some dysfunction in your breathing. And by the way, they only do that when they hear something in your lungs that sounds like emphysema to them or something. Or, you know, you're diagnosed with cancer or something. Or you come into an ER and you're in the ER and they're watching you breathe and they're listening to you breathe. But if you're breathing 15 to 18 times a minute, they're like, you're fine. If you were breathing 8 times, they're like, oh, that's like something's wrong. But beyond that, there's not much of an evaluation when you go see the doctor. In Chinese medicine, whenever I sit with someone, whenever I work with someone, we're always observing the breath. Is this person breathing? Are they not breathing? When I'm at a party, not at a party, I'm driving the car, I'm having a conversation with someone, I'm always observing, what is my breath doing? Sometimes I'm holding my breath. I want to observe that. That can help me to change it. So, how does this relate to the heart? How does it relate to a healthy heart? Okay? Number 1, stress versus lack of stress. When we say stress, you can be in stressful conditions, under pressure, and your heart's good to go because your breath is good to go. But if your breath is not good to go and your mind has gone over here into stress and your breath is being held, and not only are you holding your breath, you're kind of like putting a stressful pressure on your breath, like trying to repress and suppress something we might say in psychology, and you're holding your emotion. You do that for any length of time, you now have all the ingredients you need for heart problems. Well, not necessarily all of them, just like eat bad too, and then, you know, now you have even more issues. Because if your blood is not flowing well because you're eating bad foods, I won't go into what all of those are, you can look that up, or just maybe you have some understanding. We'll assume you have some understanding of what bad food is. But if you're eating, you know, red meats all the time and fats and sugars and all of it, right? And then you're holding your breath, and then you're putting yourself in environments where you can't breathe, and you're stressed and you have the pressure, this is just like a bad situation, right, over time. So, what can we do about it? If you want to learn to be meditative, Qigong, one of the ways in which Qigong can be expressed in terms of what it is a form of Taoist meditation. All meditation places some emphasis on the breath. How we're breathing, whether we're breathing or not, evaluating the breath, and then breathing particular ways. And then with Qigong, because it is a physical practice, physical. Everybody breathe in here, go like, take your hands, go here and go. Inhale, slow through the nose, inhale. Hold your breath, turn your hand the other way, and exhale, out the mouth. Inhale as you come up here. Hold the breath in the lower belly, exhale, push out. Keep going with me, inhale. Inhale. Turn the hands, exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Imagine gathering energy from the earth. Inhale. Hold your breath. Turn the hands. Exhale. We're going to add one more. Put a smile on your face. Don't have to show teeth, but just turn your lips up. It changes what's going on in the brain. And now go. And now go. Inhale. One more. Now take the backs of the hands. Exhale as we go toward the floor. Inhale, slow, slow as we come up. Through the nose. Exhale as we come down. Through the mouth. Up. Smile. Exhale. Smile. Exhale through the mouth. Smile. Exhale. Bring your hands right here. Pretty much in every religion you'll see people do this. In India, this is called a mudra, a static position that you hold. Very simply put, this is like a cherry on top of the practices that we just did. And where's the cherry? We're placing the cherry right on top of the heart space, right on top of the heart center. So you see yoga people all the time, for example, namaste, namaste. Namaste means the light in me acknowledges and sees and recognizes the light in you. Okay? Qigong is sometimes referred to, you can relax your hands, as a form of Chinese yoga as opposed to yoga from India. There are definitely parallels. Okay? While I'm speaking to you, before we stand up and do some practices, as I'm introducing you to some of these concepts, I'm just going to break off in a moment and we're going to do a practice like that. It may even seem abrupt in some sense. All of a sudden, whoa, I thought he was talking. Now we're doing Qigong. I'm doing it on purpose. Because one of the things that I want to show you, I'm trying to show you several things at one time, but one of the things that I hope is a little bit awakening is we could be right in the middle of a business meeting and we can quick stop. Or you could have been driving your car, maybe you were Thanksgiving with the family and everybody's stressed and you pull to the side. You don't even need to get out of your chair. And you can start breathing. Now, breath practice in and of itself, there's yogic breath practices, there's Wim Hof breath practices, people who've become famous for creating a slightly new variation of a breath. They became popular, and then so they start doing that breath. Maybe I'll have a breath named after me one day. Anyway, right now I'm just teaching the whole collective of it, so I'm teasing, but these breath practices are very powerful. Hickson Gracie, those of you who know me know that I do jiu-jitsu. I'm a jiu-jitsu teacher, amongst other martial arts that I teach. And there's another entity known by Hickson Gracie, also became very popular in the martial arts world. Over 600 fights this guy has reportedly won, undefeated. Guess what one of his primary practices are? Breath-like practices that come from Qigong and come from yoga. So when I said earlier that when we do these practices, we are working with our breath. This is what I've told you so far. We're working with our breath. That breath, when you're holding your breath, it causes stress. When you start breathing, you're taking over the body. You're also taking over the mind. You're also taking over the emotions. And what I said to you here already is that part is good for your heart. If you're holding your breath, not good for your heart. If you're holding stress, not good for you. When we and I'm going to repeat that practice again, we're going to do it again, but I come back to the philosophy and the theory and the science here a little bit. When you're seated, you could be in the middle of a meeting, your whole room. I have teachers and other people who, they're either teachers or they're CEOs or leaders or of some kind. They will stop their kids or stop their adults and say, before we do this meeting, we're all going to do this practice. Because let's face it, why should we continue to come into business meetings, everybody's stressed out? It took all of us effort to get here today. You know, even if you're at home, it took effort to set up the computer, get everything ready. If you dressed up or something, it takes even more effort. Then you could drive the car, you had to eat breakfast, and then everybody's coming in holding their breath, let's get ready for that business meeting, and then right away everybody goes and the boss or the CEO does their thing. It's very stressful. Everybody's holding their breath. So unless you did your Qigong at home, unless you did your yoga at home, unless you did your meditation at home, unless you went for a run in the morning, then you're walking into a stressful environment and you're setting yourself up for health problems down the road. So right in the middle of any of that, guess what? Take control of your body, use your body, take control of your breath. So what I started to say, last little piece, and then we're going to do the physical practice again, is I said that there's this concept from China, and it's in India too, it's in Korea, it's in Japan. In Japan, Qi is called Ki. In India, universal life force Qi is called Prana. Right here today in the US and around the world, France and other places who are researching this kind of thing, it is called the field. So you are not just breathing in oxygen, nitrous oxide and carbon dioxide, hopefully getting rid of some of that, but not too much. There's a balance. But you'll hear studies like this. But you're breathing into a field of energy. Sounds woo-woo, right? Well, gravity reaches from here to the moon, reaches from here to the sun. You can't see it. It's a field. But it's not weird because we're used to it. Radio waves are traveling through this room right now, and there are many different frequencies. Tune it to 103.5, you get a particular radio channel. Tune it into 107.5, you get a different radio channel. But when you are working with your breath, you are breathing in that universal life force energy that feeds your body, feeds the cells in your body. The medical doctor that wrote the foreword to my book, one of the things that he mentions in there is this idea of oxygenation all the way down to the very tiny, tiny cells that are in our body. So oxygen is super important, but we also have this understanding now that the air is charged. Let me say it again. The air is charged. If you're holding your breath and you're not working with your breath and you're holding that stress posture, you have problems for many reasons, but you also have problems because you're not getting the universal life force Qi, the prana, the Ki that is in the air into not just your physical body, into your energy bodies. Last little piece. When we use, everybody bring your hands here. We could, just to show you actually, set your hands in your lap just briefly. We could, this is a basic breath in Qigong practice. Slowly breathe in through your nose. Don't breathe fast, breathe slow. Try and raise your lower belly. Exhale your breath through your mouth. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through the mouth. Now, if you breathe, we're going to do one time the quote-unquote wrong way, at least for this type of breathing. I want you to breathe quickly, and I want you to raise your chest and your shoulders. We don't want to breathe like that, not for this kind of breathing. We want to breathe slow and low. Slow through the nose, and take both your hands, place them on your lower belly, and try and feel your belly coming up when you breathe in through your nose. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the nose. Mouth, exhale. Let's just keep repeating it a little bit. All right, we're going to come back to that breath a little bit later when we go to meditation and with some stillness as well. But I want to tell you, the practice I just showed you, that's harder. And it uses less of your physical strength and your physical body, but it is a practice of Qigong. But now when we use the physical body, we're using it wisely and we're building, it's like a form of physical therapy. We're using all of the elements, so we're going to do it again. As we bring our hands to ourselves, typically we will breathe in. So the very first part of the practice, we go inhale. Now we try and hold our breath for a second, and then we exhale as we push. If I had to physically open something, a door, exhaling would be the best way to do it. Even if I had physical weights, we pick the weights up like this, and then we wanted to push the weights like this, we had some kind of cables. Exhaling is the most powerful way to do that. So even in the air without weights, we're going inhale, hold the breath in the lower belly, exhale, turn the hands. Now I'm changing my breath a little bit. Instead of just I'm going I'm pushing, I'm tightening my abdomen. To begin with, your sound is going to be very quiet because you probably have very little breath in your lower belly. So just understand, as you have more breath, you'll be able to make this sound more, okay? Just for fun, let's everybody stand up now. We're going to use the same breath, but we're going to do it from standing. I already showed it to you from seated, okay? And we're going to use the same technique, okay? Now, this lower belly area is called lower dantian in Chinese medicine. Dantian, sure. Dantian means elixir field. Elixir field. Okay, I'm going to bring some other people. You can watch them do it too. All right? So from here, we're standing like this. Everybody go ahead and just kind of hold your hands here like this. My belly button is like right in between my hands, just below my thumbs, okay? Bend your knees a little bit. This area here, we're obviously moving on now to standing Qigong. So this area here is called lower dantian. Dantian means elixir field. Remember how I said a little while ago that there's a field of energy? Everybody go like this with your hand. Ooh, woo-woo, mysterious. Oh, it's so mysterious. It actually is. Everybody go like this. You have Wi-Fi waves and all kinds of radio waves flowing all around you, but somehow people, when they practice Qigong, if they're new and it seems weird, they go, well, what's supposed to be here? Everything's here, guys. The Wi-Fi is here, the Qi is here, the radio channels are here. Remember I said earlier, though, we want to gather certain energy. We want to gather it to ourselves. So holding right here, this is our reservoir. It's called lower dantian. You have a field. We're going to get to the heart field a little while because it's a heart-centered practice today. And guess what? Western medicine can measure it. But we talk about it differently in Chinese medicine. But it's measurable because it's a field of energy. Right now, you're practicing standing tree meditation, by the way. It's an advanced practice. Masters will do this for 4 hours at a time. Longest session I've done is 5 hours like this, without moving. You're not allowed to scratch your face or your nose. When you do that, you're starting to gather a tremendous amount of energy. Okay, but now we're going to move on. I'm going to take you into the practice we just did. So we're going to take the hands like this, and we're going to lower our body though on this one. Imagine gathering energy from the earth. As you lift this energy up, breathe in through your nose. Slowly try and pull it into your lower belly. Here we go. Hold your breath for a second. Bend your knees. Bring yourself down. Push it apart. Inhale. Look at the vicinity our hands are in. And this doesn't have to be, this can also be Now we go soft Qigong. The way I was doing is a little bit of hard Qigong. Look where the arms and hands are. Heart. Clear the stress out. So you can think of it in different ways, but one way I would suggest, gather energy from the earth, spread it out, clear the heart space. Now, this next exercise, watch my hands here. Anybody who knows it, go ahead and do it. We're just going to reach up here to the sky. And we're going to slowly just walk the hands down, slowly. Traditionally, this one is called pulling down the heavens. And we're not going to worry about the breath right now. We're just going about this cadence. About this cadence here. With this particular exercise, I want you to think about putting that energy in the ground. I want you to think about pulling energy from the ground, slowly coming up. I want you to reach up into the sky, and then I want you to imagine pulling down the heavens. Traditionally, that's what this one is called, pulling down the heavens from China. Okay? But I've also studied a lot with a Japanese master, and we refer to this one in our school as the waterfall. Because in the Japanese practices, a lot of times they go into the waterfall. They practice what's called masoji. Masoji means purification, essentially. And so here, imagine that waterfall of energy. I like to give that image sometimes. So the water is here. And then we're literally bringing that water down, running it through our body down into the ground. Oh. We can practice this. Stay here for just a moment. We can practice this a few different ways. Let's give 2 or 3 different ways, see how it feels. So we're going to go a little quicker. We're going to inhale through our nose when we come up. We're going to exhale and go, like you're throwing that away. Taking down the stress, get rid of it. So we're exhaling or inhaling as we go up. We're exhaling as we go down. Okay, now relax for just a moment. We're going to do it again, but I want to show you 3 very important different locations that we're always somewhat focused on when we're practicing Qigong. Okay, number 1 was here. This is lower dantian. Again, lower dantian is said to be an elixir field. We'll get more into this a little bit later in certain ways, and we'll build upon that knowledge. This is lower dantian, but now take your hands and go like this. This is middle dantian, and it's your heart space. So we could be like this, we could be like this. I just want you to have some understanding. This is your heart. This is your heart space. This is called middle dantian, middle elixir field, okay, in Chinese. Bring your hands kind of here and bring them up just kind of in your face a little bit, right here, okay? This area here, everybody take your right hand and make some circles here to your left. This is upper dantian or upper elixir field. What's one of the primary things that sits up here? Go ahead and point to your head. Your brain. But not just your brain, pituitary and pineal glands. Very important glands in your body that you can learn to train and discipline through these practices. We'll get more into that a little bit later as well. So lastly, I want to tell you this, and we're going to go right back to the same practice. When you're moving your hands and you're coming, I want you to realize, look, I'm going through upper dantian. Now I'm cleansing and clearing middle dantian, that's your heart, your stress, taking the stress out of your head, taking the stress out of your heart, moving it down and through your lower belly, and then put it in the ground. That's the get rid of it. And what that also does is it gets you grounded and rooted. So we pull from the ground. Everybody here now, we got all those details. Inhale. Hold the breath for a second. Exhale. And you can make like an HA sound on this exhale. So it's an inhale, exhale, ha. Notice at the bottom we're pausing also when we go ha. I don't jump right back up. I pause a second or two and then I come up. Now let's go back to the first practice. Inhale. Exhale. Now even here, why is it important to like kind of pause here for that second when you finish your breath? Because otherwise it looks like this. Just watch this for just a sec. Like it all starts getting too fast. You can't even like match what your breath is supposed to be doing. So if you want to take over your stress and reprogram your stress, take control of your breath. So that means inhale when you want to inhale, exhale when you want to exhale. And the reason that I said the seated practice is almost like more advanced, it takes much more patience and it's harder to do because it's just easier. And you can try it for yourself, but I think it's much easier when you have a motion. That's one of the amazing things about the Qigong practice and Tai Chi, which is a form of Qigong practice, is that when martial art, when we're moving mind, body, and breath. So when we're seated and we're just breathing, that's a powerful practice, but it takes greater discipline. But it's because you might be stressed out, you try and sit, you try and breathe, you're like, I can't sit still, I can't do it. But when you take Qigong and you take the principle and you these principles and you understand, everybody back to this one, where you go, okay, I'm going to gather from the ground on my inhale and I'm going to use this motion of lifting my hands. So we do that, right? And then we say, I'm going to hold my breath for just a second. I'm going to turn my hands over. I'm going to exhale. Do you realize what does it require for you to put all those pieces together? What does it require? Focus. It takes your focus and your attention away from your stress, away from whatever you were feeling. It changes your breathing pattern. And it's strengthening your body all at the same time. Now, if we were to do it 1 minute, we'd have some impact. I remember years ago, somebody approached me and said, hey, this is like 20 years ago, they said, before YouTube and everything was like a thing. And they said, would you be willing to put together some Qigong practices for this app or whatever? We just talked to some yoga teachers. They don't want to do anything less than 30 minutes, but they really wanted something less than 5 minutes. I go, I'll do a 1 minute video for you. You can change what's going on with your state of energy and emotion with 1 minute of this Qigong practice. I'm going to prove it to you because we're going to do it right now. I'm going to literally check my time. We're going to do it for 1 minute. I want you to see how you feel in the beginning, and then I want you to see how you feel afterwards. Because when we put all these components together, we're cheating. We're taking the focus away from stress, the attention away from stress, and we're putting all those powerful pieces together, and we're going to do it for 60 seconds. Let's see how we feel. All right? So we're going to go in 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Now go here. And hands together. We went about 8 seconds over. It's amazing how fast time goes when you're having fun. Hold yourself just still for a moment. This is a Qigong practice, by the way. It's also a yoga practice. Inhale, exhale. Oh. Now, some of you, when you did that practice, you might have felt like a little bit lightheaded. You might have felt a little, because when you start working with your breath, the oxygen, nitrous oxide, carbon dioxide balance is getting a little thrown off if you're not used to it, if you didn't eat enough food. If any of that kind of happens, lessen your breath. We're going to do it right now. Lessen your breath and focus and emphasize the movement rather than the breathing. Like even if you started breathing and then during practice, like after 3 rounds, you're feeling a little like, just drop the breath, drop it. So watch, we're going to do it like that. So don't worry about your breath. Literally, inhale, exhale, don't worry about it. Let your breath do whatever your breath is doing. Try and roughly practice this cadence, the speed at which I'm going, okay? So first I'm going to lower. I'm going to pick this energy up. I can stand a little taller when I do that. I'm going to turn my hands over, and I'm going to press. There's some degree of pressing, 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 pressing. I'm going to come down, gather the earth. I'm going to lift it up. I'm going to turn the hands over and out, and I'm going to press apart. Here, if you wanted to inhale, just an easy inhale, easy exhale. Inhale starts here. Bring your hands down here. Touch your middle fingers together. From this position here, bring your arms up and kind of come up here and touch your fingertips together. It could be middle finger. If you really want to like little meditation, try and touch your middle fingers together. When we come down this way, bend your body down, like a little bit over, right? Not like this, but like squat and just bend a little. When we go, these are our bird's wings or eagle's wings, okay, whatever you want to think of. So when we go with the arms up, this is an inhale. We're going to inhale. I'm even going to arch back a little bit. And then I'm going to exhale. I'm going to inhale. And I'm going to exhale. I'm now going to come up. I'm going to stand tall on this one. I'm going to go up with my hands about this pace. Leave the breath alone. Don't do anything with the breath. Hands will start slowly coming down. As they do, I'm going to slowly start sinking my weight a little bit into my horse stance. Go to where you can go to there. I'm going to slowly come up. Again, I'm leaving the breath alone. Let it do what it wants to do. Some degree of tension in your body, some degree where you're reaching, stretching, and you have little tiny bit of tension in there, a little bit of tiny tension in your legs, holding you up, working on your stability. Now these physical movement practices, like this type of practice right here. Everybody calm. Elbows here. Hang loose, loose. Bring your hands here like you're holding a yoga ball or something. To us in Qigong, it's holding a Qi ball. You're holding a ball of energy. This is in the lower area of the lower dantian. Make sure your knees stay slightly bent so you don't cut off your blood circulation, and it also will make sure your lower back doesn't bother you so much. Okay? But anybody at home or anybody here that needs to sit down at any time, sit down. You could do these practices from seated, no problem. Okay? So you're holding here. Practices like this are initially very difficult, especially for the mind, because the mind will get caught up in the emotions you're feeling, the pain you're feeling in your body, all these kinds of things, and be like, that's weird, I gotta get out of here and run for the hills. I don't want to do it, right? But what's very interesting about this is a very energizing practice. It's very energizing. And right now you're energizing lower dantian, okay? Now, here would be a great question. If someone were to ask me this question, it would be a great question. They would say, David, why is it that when I practice this, even within 1 minute, I feel this ache in my back, and I feel this tension in my shoulders, and my neck gets tight? Why? Because wherever your chi, wherever your energy, the electrical charge that runs through your body, wherever it is stuck, and wherever the blood is stagnating and having a difficult time flowing in your body, it's going to start aching. Why? Because the chi that you're gathering is pushing on it, trying to get it to move. So if you can stay 3 minutes in that pocket where you're tense and uncomfortable, for 3 minutes, you just broke up that stagnation. Now go drink some water, go pee it out 10 minutes, 20 minutes from now, and now it has left your body. That's good news. All right? Now, take the hands, let them relax, shake them like this. Shake them like this. But what's interesting about those static positions like that one, where you're holding, and again in India they call it like a mudra. When you're holding a static position like that, what's very interesting about that, there's so many things interesting, but one of the things interesting is it may all of a sudden one day turn you on to the realization that you are an energy field. So if you've ever seen pictures of energy fields, like this aura around a person, all of a sudden you come to this feeling like you're a ball of energy, not just the physical body. That's a very interesting day. One of the practices that does that, which is exceptional for the heart, I will tell you, it is very challenging. Maybe not for a minute, but anything beyond that, it starts getting more and more challenging. But if you have the understanding that I just shared with you, that when your shoulders start to ache from doing this one, if you can just stay with that for 1 minute, you're breaking up the tension in your shoulders if that's where you feel the tension. If you feel the tension in your lower back, you're breaking up the tension that you feel in your lower back. And most people will feel tension in their lower back. Why? Because you're standing there? No, not exactly. Because most people, through stress and so on, we have an ache going on in our back. Why? Because that's where the kidneys and the adrenals sit. And the kidneys and the adrenals take over your fight or flight system, including being frozen, which maybe I'll say something about later. I talked about a lot in the last program that we did. But when that happens, what energy do you have for your heart? Your heart is racing if your kidneys and your adrenals are being taken over. And if your kidneys and your adrenals have been taken over too much flight or flight, too much stress, right? Then the heart is weak because the heart, there's no extra energy for the heart. All right, so this is an excellent exercise to combat that situation. Can be done seated. It's harder to do standing, but even if we can get a minute or two out of this, this is a very potent exercise. And by the way, it's the most difficult one I learned. When I was 25 years old and I had the spinal disease and I hadn't healed it yet, this one, literally 2 minutes, and I was like screaming inside. Like I could barely hold myself like that. So here we go. So first of all, this was the first version of it. Holding lower dantian. This one's going to be easier. The next one's going to get harder because we're going to move up the ladder. And for some people, it's going to be hard on your shoulders, your back. So I'm going to show you a couple of tricks to make this one hopefully a little easier for you. Because we're going to move to here, guys, the heart. But check this out. Drop your elbows. So don't have your elbows up here. This is going to be harder on your shoulders. Droop your elbows down like this. Now, don't hold this up like you're holding something up like this. Instead, focus on the drop of the elbows. And then imagine that you have puppet strings holding up your wrists. Like something's holding those wrists, like not the shoulders. Something's just holding them there. So elbows are down. We want to tuck our tailbone in slightly. So if I were to put my hands here, I want it so that like I'm plugging in my tailbone. I don't want my butt sticking out, but I also don't want to have my pelvis forward. So I want to find that sweet spot in between. I want the elbows dropped. My chin is tucked slightly down. You can also touch your middle fingers here together. Because one of the deeper practices with this practice is to literally imagine the energy coming from all of your fingers going into the other fingers, plugging them in. Try and relax this as much as possible. This is now called standing like a post, or its slang, if you will, is called hugging the tree. And so you just want to hold this. Try and relax your shoulders if that's where you feel the tension. If you feel the tension in your lower back, try, not by all this adjustment, but just try and talk to that area of your mind. Over many years of practice, you could become very, very quiet and very, very still. And that is amazing for your heart. Let the hands come down. Reach up to the sky. Inhale. Exhale your breath. Ah, make an ah sound. Ah, very soothing for the heart. Ah. Yeah, if you have any questions at home.
Leg tension also break up with this.
Oh, say again.
Will leg tension also
At any time during these practices, as a warm-up or as a follow-up, and this is in light of the question that was asked, will leg tension break up with this? The simple answer is yes. We also have a physical practice that we can do to help break up the leg tension that happens from us just standing here, right here. We're going to tap the sides of the legs. We're going to go down the legs. We're going to go down the outsides. Wherever you can reach, we're going to come up the insides. We're going to go around the outside. We're going to go back down. Just lightly tapping, lightly tapping, lightly tapping. And let's just say that I did a Qigong routine like we just did, like literally all of what we just did, and then I am done. I tap my legs out, I'm done. Go straight away, like if you guys weren't here and I didn't still have to teach, I'd go right over there to that wall, I'd put my legs up on it, and I'd elevate my legs for the next 15 minutes. Let all that blood and that qi, everything, all that stagnation that's getting stirred up, pushed on, because Qigong is like an internal massage. So as you're pulling energy in through your feet, as you're bringing energy in through your breath and so on, this is all causing the qi channels and everything, the chakras to open up, the qi channels to move. As that happens, you're going to bring to the surface that stagnation. Meditation is uncomfortable. Qigong is a little less, even though it's a form of meditation, if it's a movement Qigong practice, it's typically a lot less uncomfortable than a still posture, which tends to be much more uncomfortable. Okay? So one way is to tap all of that out. Another way is to keep moving, keep drinking the water, elevate the legs. All of it works. I'm going to have a seat and I'm happy to answer the question. Let you guys go ahead and sit down. Yes. Yep. How's this spot, Taylor? Good. A little bit this way. Good. All right. Great question. And it's an important one that somebody asks at some point, right? Or I would get around to talking about it. So in yoga, this is one of the differences between yoga from India and yoga from China. So yoga from India, the primary practice is in through the nose, out through the nose. So when they do their practices, it's breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the nose. And this is very calming to the nervous system. It actually activates what's called the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system. So this is the way in which they work with it. With Qigong, because it is literally a forerunner to at least, you know, who knows really whether chicken or the egg came first, right? But the eldest masters that I know of and have worked with and so on, they all say Qigong came before martial art. So you had practices that were before you ever had hiya, xia, ha, battling with Qigong, which in some ways makes sense because in order to really develop that martial art, you would really have to have an understanding of the breathing. Like at that level, to be able to protect the body, which they call Wei Qi. Wei Qi means protective energy, and that is for warding off viruses, bacteria, etc., but also literally somebody hits you with a stick. Watch some of those monks on YouTube. They'll hit them with a baseball bat at 90 miles an hour, and the monk right at the last split second goes, "Phew!" and the bat just breaks into pieces. Okay? If you do that wrong, like you're trying to break something and you do it wrong, you will break your hand in various places, which I did. And then you can use Qigong to heal it. But anyway, these are side notes. But why am I talking about that? Because come back to the breath, come back to yoga from India versus yoga from China. Yoga from China is yoga from China, meaning Qigong, is intertwined. Taylor, I'm going to stand up. It's intertwined it's intertwined with martial art, as are arts from other disciplines like karate, for example. And we have a certain type of breathing. If I were to go through my nose, I have no power. Okay? When I go and the breath comes from my mouth, even just slow, not like a bark, because I don't want to scare everybody in a hotel and blow up the camera. But if I just even exaggerate the sound, right? And this, by the way, this will be a form of hard Qigong, what I'm going to show you. It's on its way to martial art, it's hard Qigong, right? So if I go, any motion, whatever the art is, whatever their movements are, and right away, so hot. When we express exhalation with a movement like hitting a baseball, it's out the mouth. When we hit a hockey puck, when we play golf, the exhale's through the mouth. Qigong is really a form, like Tai Chi, the most popular form of Qigong, it's a martial art, slowed way down. But it's not a hard style martial art like what I just showed you, like karate is. It's a soft style martial art. So there's not the emphasis of tension in the body in that way. But it's a martial art. So one of the primary reasons then for that type of breath, it strengthens the body and the body's movements. Like yoga, you go into a pose and you stay there and you stretch. But with Qigong, even in this, right? Inhale and then exhale. It's a pressing apart. So really it's a form of physical therapy, and Qigong bridges then into martial art. The other really positive aspect of that type of breathing is that you charge your system and you purge. You create a lot of space by exhaling like that for new energy. And in my book, I posted some information there about some studies that have been done about breathing. And I forget what the most recent statistic is, but it's somewhere around 70%. 70% of the toxins in your blood are removed through your exhalation. When we are just breathing in and out through the nose, that's not quite the same kind of exhalation. Again, it's very calming. And so when we practice Qigong, if we're doing standing like a post exercise, we would be breathing in and out through our nose because there's no physical movement of expression. But the moment we have physical movement of expression, this becomes inhale through the nose, this becomes exhale through the mouth. And as you do that over the years, you will really discover it builds your physical Wei Qi. So like in karate and things like that, we would kick and punch each other or different things. And when you exhale your breath and tense your body to some degree, that's where you could be hit by a stick or something, and the Wei Qi literally protects your body. If you were to be hit by anything, fall off your bicycle, and you were to inhale, you would knock the wind out of yourself and you might break a bone. Whereas if you hit the ground and you exhaled the moment you hit the ground, you probably wouldn't break anything. And it probably wouldn't hurt that bad if your timing was right. The moment you hit the ground, you went, whew. Okay, most people don't know how to do that, but if you do martial arts and stuff, you learn how to do that. So, great question. That's why the breathing pattern is that way. Cool? All right. So, invite you to take a sip of water while I take a little sip of water here. So again, if we come back to this idea of our main subject, right, a healthy heart, again, one of the primary things that I would say to you all is that most of us live under a certain degree of stress. And so learning to manage your stress is to take care of your heart. And for anybody that is not eating that great and, you know, working and just go home, go to sleep, turn on the news, and you're just feeding yourself with not the greatest food, and then you're under stress at work, and then you're watching the news, which is nothing but a big ball of stress on one level. That's what it is. Because without getting too much into conspiracy theories or things like that, just understand that if the people who ran media were interested in your well-being and interested in your health and not interested in selling you all kinds of products, many of which are not good for our environment, if they were interested in you in that way, then you would see all kinds of positive programming. There'd just be positive programming. It's very simple. You'd see positive programming on the news. And it would take up the majority of the news, and they'd say, oh, by the way, these other people over here are warring in this country, you know, or whatever. But it wouldn't take up the entire news. Now, here's the thing. People today, they won't even watch something unless somebody's blaming somebody and somebody's going to court and somebody's getting crucified in some way, shape, or form, right? They just don't. So books don't sell unless they put that in there. Videos don't sell unless they, anyway. But some of us are starting to turn the corner, and we are waking up in consciousness. You know, when I was 15, 16 years old and going through some of the hard times I was going through, you know, I watched all the Chuck Norris movies and all the Clint Eastwood movies, and, you know, this one killed their family, and so then they go out and get retribution, and like that was all the stuff I grew up watching, you know. And so now it's, you know, I just don't expose myself to that. I'm not, you know, not interested in that. So some of us are turning the corner. We want to gather with each other around something more positive, and you know, make for positive energy, you know, with each other. So anyway, just understand, for you, the individual, you have to guard what you're exposing yourself to. Like, you have to guard yourself. You have to protect yourself. So like, if you're going to watch the news, I often say to people, watch it while you're standing like a post. Add some breath work to it. Do something that's going to keep you sane while you're watching all of that. Because is it part of our reality? Clearly it is. But I'm telling you, I see things every day. Because I'm out there, I often say, Gandhi's saying, one of Gandhi's sayings that came from Gandhi was, be the change you want to see in the world. I live my life like that every day to the best of my ability. Every day, to the best of my ability, I try and be the change that I want to see in the world. I often say when somebody comes to me for counseling and so on, I will say to people, I often find myself saying this, that the burden, the quote-unquote burden, always lies on the more conscious person. So what does that mean in relationship to the heart? It means that you, as the practitioner, you would be wise to practice tolerance and develop your own ability to be tolerant. You would be wise to practice your own ability to be compassionate and grow your level of compassion. And after practice with growing your level of compassion, you might find that you are much more understanding. And in being much more understanding, you would find that you're much more tolerant. And in being more tolerant and having greater understanding, you might realize you're even more compassionate than you were before. So, you know, Jesus had the saying, one of Jesus' teachings, right, was love your neighbor as yourself. But a lot of people don't really love themselves too much. So what does that say for the world, right? But it is very important to take care of yourself and love yourself. These are loaded words because they're used all the time. So the way I would suggest, offer you as a sharing with you all, loving yourself means take care of yourself. Take care of yourself means mind your own business. What is your business? Your business is, what is my breath doing? Your business is, what's going on with my body? What's going on with my breath? Which also means what's going on with my emotions, not just intellectually, what's going on with my emotions, what's going on, I wonder what it is, I wonder if it's this, I wonder if it's that, I wonder if it's the other thing. No. Be aware that you're angry, be aware that you have anxiety, be aware that you're becoming overly emotional. And then go to a physical practice of Qigong, change your breath. Change your breath. Change your mood. Chapter 6 in my book, I talk about your mood and how your mood is an indicator of where you're at with all of it. Okay? So if your mood is off, change your breath by practicing Qigong. If you change your mood, you are selfishly going to have a better day tomorrow. You are selfishly going to have a better business meeting today. You are selfishly going to have more energy. But then you're going to be able to share it with other people. If I turn the news off, let's see, how many years have I turned the news off for? I was going to say if you turn the news off for 3 days, but now I'm just going to get radical with you guys because that's kind of how I am. So let's see, how long have I turned the news off? As long as I've been watching TV. That's how long I've turned the news off. Every once in a while, somebody tells me something, okay, those people are at war, this is going on, something's happening, and then like it crosses my feed and I like look at it, right? But my practice as an aspiring Buddha, an aspiring Christ, if you will, an aspiring Taoist, whatever you want to call it. I'm not anything really, but without the dogma, I am a human being, but I have discovered that I'm a deeply spiritual being. And that whether you want to call it Buddha or Christ or whatever you want to call it, it lives inside me. And I know it. And I also know that it lives inside you. And so therefore I have great tolerance for what you're going through. I also have great compassion for what you're going through. I also have great understanding for what you're going through. I have a great understanding for what humanity is going through. And I also know that not everybody's going to get it before I leave. Before I leave this planet, die this body, not everybody's going to get it. I am not going to fix the world. Okay? Because I have that understanding, but I also have that compassion. I also am growing that tolerance. So minding my own business is about me taking care of me. So if I take a time out from the news, and I've taken a long time out from the news, I'm not suggesting you take that long of a time out from the news, but I've taken a long time out from the news. I healed my spine by taking a time out from that news. Over 13 years, took me 13 years to heal the majority of my spine. I'm still working with 10% of it or whatever it is, but it took me 13 years. During that 13 years, I learned these kinds of practices. I took it to a little bit more of an extreme, and I had some, what you might call extreme experiences, which Dr. Bill Bergman, who wrote the foreword in my book, also had. I turned him on to the same kind of experience, and he said, it was like a river running through me. I never felt anything like that before in my life. It was like a river. It was like a river of energy, of something. That's what happened to me. It happened to me a whole bunch of times. And then I went back to the doctors, and my spine, which at 25 years old, I've been 10 years into these practices, and at 25 they said, your spine looks like you're 85 years old. You're going to be crippled by the time you're 30. And anyway, within 3 or 4 years, 5 years, somewhere in that range, I had a bunch of these experiences, and then I went back for x-rays because I had some stuff going on, and I'd never seen my spine look like that before. So it was clean, the arthritis was gone, the vertebrae were in place, the whole 9 yards, and I hadn't seen anything like that since I was like 15, because at 15, I had the accident at 12. By 15, all the x-rays were just scary, 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 scary. So anyway, in that process, I also had an experience of my heart opening. Energy, blood, chi, emotion, mood change, perception change. I radically changed. In that process, I never set out to be a healer. People started coming to me even when I was still physically not healed. People were already drawn to whatever energy I was playing with. People started coming, started working with me, and I started, I just became known as a healer. And then, already had studied the psychology degree, counselor, therapist. Now I'm on to molecular cellular biology, emergency medical technician. I'm maybe going to medical school. And then right in the middle of all of that, we have a baby boy that shows up. There's some other stories, but brief. Baby boy shows up. He has holes in his heart like Swiss cheese. I do some healing work on him. I bring him to a group like you guys right here. Everybody else is doing healing work on him. No one's touching him. We're working with heart field energy. I told you in Western medicine, they can measure your heart. Okay? They can also measure your brain. How do they do that? Because there's a field coming off your brain and there's a field coming off your heart. That's how they can measure it. Chinese medicine has been talking about those fields for over 5,000 years. But they call them elixir fields. Why do they call them elixir fields? Because the elixir fields, the energy, the mysterious energy that you can't see and can't feel, but they can take photographs or whatever they do of it, right? Quote unquote photographs of particular frequencies, right? Like an echocardiogram, okay? Or EKG, all right? They can take that. It's because of the field of energy. But again, in Chinese, they called it an elixir field. Why? Well, when I started studying molecular cellular biology, it blew my mind, as I was studying Chinese medicine side by side, that these fields are tied to hormones, hormone flow in your body. And that in general, only 2 types of hormones, life hormones and death hormones. Death hormones are also known as stress hormones. They're also known as aging hormones. When you start playing with Qigong, you start working with Qigong, you're working with energy, you're working with breath, you're working with your mind, you're working therefore in meditative states, you're changing brain states, and you are turning on what we could simply call for now life hormones. What would be one life hormone? Serotonin. What's one medication that turns on serotonin? Prozac. What's one non-medication that turns on serotonin? Qigong. When you work with these fields, you're turning on hormones in your body. This entity known as Dr. Joe Dispenza does a similar work to mine. We're in a similar train and vein. We approach it slightly differently, but we're definitely on the same page. Having said that, one of the things they do in their programs, like we do our big seminars and we practice Qigong and all of this, they practice like seated meditation and they listen to music and do some other things. But being a scientist, I'm a little bit of a scientist too. He's more of a scientist than I am. So they bring a lot of equipment with them to measure what's happening with every single individual. We evaluate it a little bit different. It's a little more old school Chinese medicine, right? You look amazing, your auric field is bright, you feel amazing, you're loving your neighbor. That's kind of how we evaluate it, right? But anyway, he goes in, measures the brain, measures saliva, which I would love to have more instruments to do that because I'm all about the saliva. Why? Because saliva can show you and tell you what is happening in the body with your hormones. Even when you start swallowing to your throat practicing Qigong. Watch some of my other longer courses, I'll talk all about it, but that's just a simple indication, okay? It has to do with hormone flow. Saliva flow and hormone flow are connected. It's connected to your breath. It's connected to your digestion. It's all connected because what? It's all one. When you start working with it, you change it. In Dr. Joe Dispenza's events, they actually will measure, sometimes, they'll measure the saliva after people have meditated for an hour or 2 days or whatever the thing is. One of the markers they can find in the saliva is markers related to immunoglobulin B, which is one of the highest markers for the immune system, and it goes off the chart after these people meditate. That's my simple description of that. So now come back to the little baby. The little baby's only 8 weeks old. We can't touch him. We're not doing points, nothing. We're literally hands-off field work. Medical Qigong is a form, they call it a form of field therapy. You're working with the energy field. It's weird, it's mysterious, it's bizarre. But in China, it's been a science for 5,000 years. Think about that. 5,000 years. Western medicine has not been around that long. For 5,000 years, they know about it, they work with it, they work through it. Western medicine took it in a different direction. It's great that we have both. Now Western medicine can have instruments that can measure those in the way that they do, okay? But in Chinese medicine, we also work with it as well. Coming back, reiterate, these fields in Chinese medicine referred to as elixir fields. What's an elixir? This potent concoction. What's the potent concoction in your body? It's called hormones. 2 different kinds, life hormone, death hormone. The baby, we work on the baby. Nobody's touching the baby. The first month, the baby let's see, sorry, 2 months. 2 months worked on the baby. Once a week, 2 months, baby went in. They said at 4 months old, the baby was going to have open heart surgery because he had holes in his heart all over the place. He was in an oxygen tank. I worked with him once a week. For 2 months. 2 months he went in. They said the small holes in his heart were healing. They thought that was weird, but they said it is what it is. He still has to have open heart surgery because there's one big hole in his heart. Worked on him for another 2 months. He went in at the 4-month mark. They moved him from room to room to room, took him to 3 different stations to do the echocardiogram. And the echocardiogram showed that the heart was healed. He was taken off of the oxygen tank. Other things that I noticed about that baby, when he came, his shoulders were like this, and all he would do is roll his head, like no joke, like this is all the kid did. He just literally constant. And to me, that was like a soul in distress, okay? As I worked on him, and as I even brought him to some programs, had some other students help with their prayer and energy, or whatever you want to call it, their intention, you would see these signs of relief. He would have release of breath. He would have color in his face. He would yawn. He would stretch. It was amazing. I'm like, whoa, you know, something's happening. So that's a lot of stuff that we look at in Chinese medicine. We don't necessarily need to have the instruments. But then it was awesome that we had the instrumentation because they went and literally said, your heart is healed. They took him off the oxygen tank. I just got a shout out from the mom. That baby boy that I worked on 20-something years ago, it was like within this last year, he graduated high school. He's never had to have open heart surgery. The kid is happy and healthy. And she even said to me, thank you so much for saving my boy, because you saved me in the process of saving, you know, my boy. And again, it's not like I did it, but I did it. You know what I mean? Like I have a part in it. But this will get off. I'm going to get how far I want to go out there, but I'll say it briefly, and then we're going to go to another exercise here. We'll use this as the lead into the next exercise. Okay, I'm going to do it like that. There's we have all kinds of stories about how we got here and what God is and all these other kinds of things. And everybody should have their own religions, and they should have their own practices and whatever they want to do with all of that, right? But I'm just going to tell you from where I'm at, and we'll, you know, maybe bridge some things called science and religion and things like that, right? So, because what is happening with some of the ancient religions and practices of meditation and all these other kinds of things and modern science is they're starting to like cross over a little bit. Why? It's because of quantum physics. So quantum physics is mirroring and therefore reiterating things that masters have said for a very long time within a lot of these different traditions, which is the following. There is a principle in life called energy. You cannot create it, you cannot destroy it, but it exists. Energy can't be created, it can't be destroyed, but it can only be changed from one form to another form. And there's another principle. The other principle is called consciousness or higher mind or awareness. Those are names for the same thing. So your awareness, your consciousness, your ability to attend to, give attention to, and your ability to intend, because this is one of the things that science they're finding and they discovered, and this is how quantum physics was born, short version of that story, is that the mind of the person giving attention cannot be separate from any experiment. Scientists used to think, we can just watch how life is and it'll just like do what it does and then we can know how life works. But what they've discovered in quantum physics, and there's a big battle right now between quantum, they don't talk about it. Most people don't talk about it. There's a big battle between quantum physics and religion. Because quantum physics says, whatever you observe, you influence. And you influence it in the direction in which you observe it and intend it to go. So if you want, I wrote a book, well, I wrote my book, but there was a book written by a Dr. Larry Dossey, MD, and they did experiments where they took, it was called The Power of Prayer. It's still out there, it was written a long time ago, but they did all these experiments. They brought in plants, they brought in water, like Dr. Emoto's studies of water, same thing, right? People intend for bad things for the water goes crazy dark, broken crystals, murky, muddy, even just by writing the word hate on your water bottle. That's what happens all the way down to the molecular structure, right? Well, they did the same type of thing in Larry Dossey's book. They did all these experiments and people came in, and again, it was called The Power of Prayer. People came in and prayed either negative things for the plant or positive things for the plant. Well, the large response was every time they prayed positive for something, regardless if they said it's in the name of Jesus or Buddha or Allah or whatever, there was some type of positive result. The plant grew better, that was more lively, they did all kinds of tests. You can do your own research on all this stuff. But this is done, and I talk about it in my book. I did it with bacteria at the university. So you can literally influence bacteria in a dish. But what does that say about people? They're a walking petri dish. You're made up of 70+% water in some cases. You're a walking bag of water. So what kind of t-shirt are you going to wear? That's why some of these drinks they have today, like there's drinks that are like, they say kill me on them. Like it's like seriously, like crazy. Like, and people drink these. I'm not going to name anything in particular because they might try and sue me or something. So, but you have certain drinks. And they put these things on there. These are not that good idea. T-shirts that you wear, things you paint on your car. I mean, these are influencing your energy all the way down to its molecular structure. So we have two principles. One principle is consciousness or awareness, your attention. Those are words for the same thing. The second principle is energy. In China, they call it Qi. Prana in India, Qi in Japan. Okay, so those are the two principles. Most people's lives are like, will be an example, like where you like, maybe like the piñata, you hit it and everything breaks and goes everywhere. It's like a little mini Big Bang, right? The Big Bang. That's most people's lives. All the pieces are scattered all over the place. If you want your energy back, you need to start having, in my opinion, my teaching, the way I would share it with you, you have to have some discipline to start bringing those pieces back to yourself. You have to have some selfishness to want to bring that back to yourself. You might want to begin to realize that the best way to control the world around me, because you can't really control it, but the best way to have some influence on it is to actually change my state, my mood, my energy, my emotions, my breath, and leave the house on Sunday in a better place. And that's why compassion is selfish. That's why tolerance is selfish. And by the way, these are all things of the heart. Compassion, tolerance, acceptance. These are things, these are practices of the heart. You don't use your bicep anymore, it's going to be very weak. If you keep using your bicep, it will get stronger. If you use your heart for compassion and tolerance and all of these things, you will grow your energetic heart, not just your physical heart, your energetic heart. It will become also good for your physical heart and your physical body, and it will lessen your stress. Compassion is selfish. The quote-unquote burden always falls on the more conscious person. Compassion produces certain kinds of hormones. Look up the Dalai Lama and the research they're doing with him at Harvard and other places. Compassion practice brings life hormone through those elixir fields. We didn't even touch that baby boy, and yet somehow it looks like we influenced elixirs in his body related to those fields that literally healed his physical heart. All right, so with that in mind, let's do a little practice. Those are plenty of reasons to want to maybe do a practice now. We can go ahead and stand just to get up and switch it up a little bit.
We also have a question.
Yes, please.
Which Qigong heart exercises best for AFib?
So AFib is a stress condition. And so it is a stress condition. It is a root chakra issue. It is firing up from the lower dantian, the root chakra, which is designed to put you into fight or flight. So if a bear comes, the root chakra would light you up. It would send information to the adrenals to get you the heck out of Dodge, okay? But AFib is like the electrical currents in the heart and everything, they're not flowing well. So let's do an exercise right now to work with some of that. There's a lot I could tell you about it. First of all, the practices we already did, those are excellent for it. Why? Because any practices that you're doing for the heart, the ones I just showed you, is getting the stress out. That's number one. Get the stress out. You've got to get it out of the body. We can have an idea like compassion, and you could be like, oh, I'm so compassionate. Maybe even put on the prayer beads and you do this, right? But we have to understand that compassion is just it is a frequency. Let's do it that way. It's a frequency. You will know if you're feeling compassionate. Compassionate doesn't mean you feel bad for. Compassion doesn't mean you suffer with. Compassion is human being to human being. I have unconditional love for you in this moment, in that I feel for you. I don't suffer for you. I don't feel terribly sorry for you, but I can understand how this would be painful for you. I can understand where you're coming from. I will sit with you in this discomfort that you're in, called fear, and I will breathe with you. That's compassion. And if you do that, it's also tolerance. And if you do that, you will grow your compassion, you will grow your tolerance. So number one, in answer to the question, we want to get rid of the stress. We did that with the first practices, okay? Now let's go a little deeper with a little meditation practice. This is also going to help. So lower dantian, everybody go ahead and hold this. We started this earlier. We're going to do it again. This is standing tree meditation. Knees bent just below the shoulders, the feet. I hold the lower dantian. By the way, do this in bed for AFib. When you wake up in the morning, lay your hands on your lower belly here. Settle this area down. How do you do it? Hold your hands here for 15 minutes. When you wake up in the morning, set the clock early, the alarm early, whatever. Get up, but don't get out of bed. Go to the bathroom if you need to. Come back. Put your hands on your lower belly. 15 minutes. Start doing it every day. Every day. Because this area is in fight or flight. We need to calm it down. How can you calm it down, David? Put your hands there. Remember I said there's two principles? One is energy. What's the other one? Awareness. Take your awareness, place your hands there, and the mind has the ability to tell this to become stressed out or to tell it to calm down. Just place your hands here with the intention of healing. You'll immediately start calming it down. You could say, if you wanted to, calm down. You could, as I've given the mantra before, say to yourself while you hold the hands there, every once in a while, deep inner peace. I'm standing here or I'm lying here in deep inner peace. You could be super stressed out, but always have the last word with your stress. Deep inner peace. Consciousness will always shift energy. Energy never, other than in an illusory sense, never has dominion over consciousness. What does that mean? It means with practice, you can snap yourself out of fear. That's what it means. With practice and consistency, deep inner peace over 1 minute. You say it again, deep inner peace over 2 minutes. Deep, not fighting with, just whispering it. Deep inner peace is what I'm focused on. I'm focused on deep inner peace. I'm focused on relaxation. I'm focused on deep inner peace. I'm focused on deep inner peace. I'm harnessing deep inner peace. And then inhale. That's a lower dantian practice. Now, let's get even more heart-centered, which is also going to be very healing for your physical heart and AFib and other things. This is a great practice right here to just hold your hands here like this, especially if you've built yourself up with energy like we did earlier with all the Qigong practices we've been doing, and then you bring your hands here. I said earlier, this is like a cherry on top, right? But now let's work with your heart. Let's exercise it even more, okay? This is like the climax of our program, so to speak. So, and sit down anytime you need to. You want to stand, stand. You want to sit, sit. But either way, you're holding your hands here. Relax your shoulders and stuff as much as possible. Next thing, make yourself as still as possible. Why? Because the more still you are, the more you start gathering energy to yourself. Whisper to yourself, self, be still for a moment. You could say your name, so-and-so, come back to myself. You could say, I am coming back to myself. I am coming back to soul. I am coming back to presence. That becomes not just the mantra, that becomes the intention. The first time you do it, the first 100 times you do it, it might take you a while to make it happen. After you've done it 100 times, you will get there quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker to where your body agrees with you that you're in a peaceful state. Because you have to change the hormone flow. Takes time. Depends on how stressed out you are. Self, come back to soul. Self, come back to presence. Come back to love. Come back to light. I am coming back to the light that lives inside me. I am coming back to soul that lives inside me. I am coming back to deep inner presence and peace. I choose tolerance in this situation, whatever it is, because I would rather have peace. I choose forgiveness. I choose compassion because I selfishly would rather have deep peace. So I want you to think about any conflict that you have going on in your life, any conflict that you have with anybody, or if it's just your stress, that's fine too. Just look at that. And think to yourself, in this situation, in this dynamic, I would rather have deep peace. I would rather be free. I would rather, and this is a very important point, feel love. Feel love for myself, for others. Feel compassion for myself, for others. Feel more tolerant. Feel greater acceptance. And here's a little interesting piece if you caught this or didn't. Hopefully you'll catch it now. Don't ask for something outside of you to make it happen. Choose it over your own body. I choose peace over my own body. I choose peace over my own hormone system. In this moment, I choose peace. Oh, look, we're in another moment. In this moment, I choose peace. Oh, check it out, we're in another moment. Oh, in this moment, I choose peace. In this moment, I choose peace. I choose to feel peace. See how that changes your breath, etc. Now really focus on your hands and your heart for a moment. After we did all that, right? Just focus on your hands and your heart. See if you feel anything different going on there. And then take your hands, let them come down, come up with your hands. Inhale, exhale. And let's come back to a seated position there. So as I often do in these kinds of programs, and it is Valentine's Day, so one of the things that I discovered when I was younger, through these practices, because these practices of martial art and Qigong and things like this, they will really teach you to harness your focus. Like it's one of the biggest things that it's about. And it's one of the biggest reasons that it has such a benefit, because you really have to harness your ability to focus. Otherwise, you're not doing the move. And the beauty of these more complicated movements over time, like the ones that we have, which are not super complicated, but they're more complicated than, you know, the two we did, let's say. In other words, because there's more of them, like in our 21-day Qigong challenge, which some of you have done, some of you have yet to do. But anyway, when you get into the more complicated movements and you're breathing a certain way and you're moving a certain way and you're trying to do all this at the same time, like I said, from a level of diffusing stress, the reason it diffuses stress over time, because initially you might be like, David, I can't breathe and do this at the same time. It's fine. It's like juggling balls. You have to start with just one ball, and then little by little you could juggle two, you can juggle three. When you're able to juggle 3 or 4 or 5 balls while you're doing Qigong, which means you're, moving the hands, you're breathing in, you're breathing out, you're doing all this stuff at the same time, right? That takes time to learn how to do. But if you do it, and even in order to do it, it requires that you show up with your focus. And at first it's like, oh God, it's one more job I got to do. One more thing I got to do. It could be stressful for some people, okay? But when you start to see the vacation of it, because when I go to, whether it's Qigong class or martial art class, like I can't focus on the rest of my life. It's way more of a vacation for me than getting on an airplane and having to go somewhere and go to airports and do all kinds of others. Like, that can be stressful. I go practice Qigong, I go practice martial art. It's like, I go into what's called Zen mind. It's often been called Zen mind, which means clear mind. This is what teachers mean when they say, become the practice. Become the practice means you're not thinking anymore. In the beginning, you go, okay, I got to think. I got to breathe in. Let's do this one again. Everybody with me? We're going to breathe in. I got to breathe in. I have to hold my breath in my lower belly, which means tighten my belly a little bit. And then I turn my hands over, and then and then I have to breathe in slow. Then I try and hold my breath in my lower belly for a second. I have to turn the hands over, and I have to, like right there, that's a little bit of a workout if you don't usually do that, right? With all the pieces. But to become the practice means by the way, you all, especially those of you here, but even you at home, this becomes a form of healing work on you. Like, there's so much energy coming from me, like I feel it. It's not like I'm waving through the air. And it's not like even the energy's out here anymore. It's literally coming from my insides out. And I'm in the zone. So when you get in the zone, you're not thinking about anything else other than the practice that you're doing. Again, that takes time. In the beginning, it's juggling the balls. But if you like it, and you play with it a little bit, very quickly you get to a place where there's some degree of an addiction to it, to some degree. Doesn't mean you'll stay with it forever, but there's a little bit, because it's literally like, I just feel so calm. Because instead of driving your vehicle, which in this case is your body, but imagine it's your car, right? Instead of driving your vehicle toward the stressful things that you've been focused on, whatever they all are, plenty of it, depending on how much news you've been watching and everything else, it could be a lot of things. You take that attention away and you selfishly, which is the greatest act of selflessness, you put it on yourself and bring healing to yourself. Some of you know all of what I do. Some of you have a hint to what all I do. But trust me when I say, teaching seminars for the last 20 years and making them up and getting our CEUs for people and creating 21-day Qigong challenges and teaching jiu-jitsu and teaching martial art and seeing private clients and having a distance healing program once a week for the last 5 years and writing a book and creating YouTube videos. It's a ton of stuff. How could I possibly maintain that without energy? How could I heal my spine without energy? How could I heal myself if I wasn't selfish enough to get the education, the degrees, take the business loans, put myself out there? How could I do any of it if I wasn't able to focus, if I didn't have energy? So on. So Qigong, martial art, things like this, yoga, meditation, they provide these opportunities to give you more energy, take your mind off of things, and to me, that is a vacation. Like I have friends that are, and clients who are big business people, CEOs and all kinds of different things. And they'll ask me, do I want to get into this? Do I want to get into this? I'm a monk. I don't have time for all of that. These are all my practices. To me, being able to practice makes me a very rich person, inside and out. So I thank all of you guys. I thank the Love, Peace, Amen Foundation for helping to make it happen, because I get to practice with you all. It's what's important to me. What's David doing today? What's he doing, Bella? Is he practicing? She knows. These guys practice too. The girls practice too. Always practicing. Our life is around practice and service, service and practice and service, service and practice. And that's what we enjoy. Like, that's what we have fun doing. So we just want to share it with you guys, because it's a vacation from the world that most people live in. And if you leave the house and live in the house more peaceful today, you find some way to become more peaceful today within yourself. I know, believe me, I've lived it. You don't have the time. You don't have the money. You won't give yourself permission. If you don't, the Dalai Lama often says, doesn't understand Westerners. They work their butts off to make all this money and get all this death insurance and all this other kind of stuff. And then at the end of as they get older and they have the money sitting in their bank account, their health just goes, and then the money goes all out to the medical profession and everything else, and they lose their money because they're not taking care of their health. Same idea. Jesus said, seek not outside yourself. So if you're looking for a new job, practice Qigong, fill yourself up, feel good about yourself. Think about something you'd like to do in the world where you can share yourself with people, and then go look for good people who you can work with who will give you a job. But if you're desperate and you don't have energy and you don't feel good, I don't care what the thing is you're trying to get, money, a job, whatever it is, fill yourself up first. Fill your tank. Qigong will fill your tank. When David does all the things I just told you I did, and I do, right? What does he do? We just had a big 2-day seminar, and I'm wiped out. What does he do? Well, you're looking at it. I go right back to these practices. I just don't have a bunch of people with me that day. I go by myself, and I go to the forest, and I practice all these practices, build my energy back up so that I can go back out there. So anyway, you catching on to it? It starts with you. Now, the heart, finishing up, any questions you guys have at home, please throw a few in there if you got them. And I just also want to say, when we work with these lower practices of building up lower dantian and charging and moving out the stress, it takes the pressure off your heart. Something I told you earlier, I'm saying it again. Once you take the pressure off your heart and the superficial stress and superficial fear off of your heart, we can actually go now deeper into heart-centered practices that will take you even deeper into meditation, deeper into what we call self or presence, or the light within you, the soul within you. You can't find any of that, which, by the way, is all a frequency. It's all a frequency of energy. And it is associated with different chakras and energy bodies that you have that you don't even know you have. But it's all got to start somewhere, and it starts by getting rid of the stress. It starts by coming back to your breath. And it starts by you having some way to do that, whether it's 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Any questions over there?
Just
Bunch of thank yous. Awesome. Everybody come on in. We're going to say goodbye to everyone at home. We're going to give them a wave, a namaste. Everybody, thank you so much for coming. All of you guys for coming here. All you guys who watched at home. All of you who will be watching later. Be the change that you want to see in the world. If you'd like the world to be more peaceful, find a way to be more peaceful. Don't just wear the beads and bow to people, but actually you can do that too, but absolutely. But make sure, try and find the frequency of it for yourself. Try and find a little greater joy, a little more compassion, a little more tolerance. It's a work, it's a practice, but it's well worth it because it's the most selfish thing you can do, and simultaneously it's the most selfless thing you can do. Thank you to the Love, Peace, Amen Foundation for sponsoring this program, and we will see you guys in a new chapter coming soon. All right, take care. Namaste.